Okay, so we're on the way to the grocery store, and I figured it's the perfect time to tell you my story. So be prepared because our road is bumpy all the way down, and we have a long driveway. But once we hit the mailboxes, it will settle out. You'll see we have been laying gravel, but we need a lot more. So, and it costs money for the gravel, and hopefully, fingers crossed, our house in New Jersey will be selling. They did the inspection, and apparently it went well. There's a few things outside, don't know what it is, waiting to hear. So hopefully all goes well, and the house in New Jersey will sell, and we won't be as broke. And we can get some gravel for this road. You'll see how bad it gets. But anyway, I'm going to start my story for you regarding the being struck by lightning. So it was inadvertently struck by lightning. Now I'm going to tell you a week before what happened first. So I was a medical biller and coder, and I worked in a very old building, and that building was grandfathered in when New Jersey made regulations about buildings and houses have to be grounded against lightning. So it wasn't grounded. And the week before, HR came and replaced all of our surge protectors. And they thought that they were replacing the surge protectors with new surge protectors, when in fact they were just replacing them with electrical cords that you can plug into. So there was no surge protectors. So fast forward a week later, I always liked getting into work early. I loved my job. I loved everything about my job, actually. I was one of those people that actually enjoyed going to work. So anyway, I get to work early, and my co-worker was also there. So it was just the two of us, and it was a nice day out. I mean, it wasn't bright blue, but it wasn't raining or anything. And I sat down and got my desk ready and everything, and I wore a one-ear headpiece. So the part that goes in your ear was on my left side, and then it just came over my head. I hope you can visualize that. And I had just plugged it in and was making my first phone call, and I don't remember. I can only tell you what Connie told me happened, because I don't remember the incident itself. But from what Connie told me is she heard me let out, not really a scream, but like a short scream, we'll say. But I was on the floor, like it literally laying on the floor, and I was screaming to get the bee out of my ear. So, of course, they sent me to the hospital, and they were under the assumption that it was some type of electrical injury, but they couldn't tell what it was, because there wasn't a storm or anything. Wait, I never knew this until this happened to me, but lightning can travel 13 miles. So it was storming a couple miles from where I was working, and lightning happened to strike the building. But anyway, so went to the hospital, and at that time it looked like I had Bell's palsy, because the right side of my face, entire side of my face was drooping. My eye, my mouth, everything. she'll look at me and it looks like I'm looking at you with my right eye in. I can't control that. Sometimes that happens, especially when I'm tired. But anyway, so I was sent to all kinds of specialists, ENTs, neurologists. I mean, workers' comp sent me to every doctor possible. What they were trying to do is to get somebody to agree with them that there's really nothing wrong with me. Mind you, my face is drooping at the time, and I had really, really loud screaming in my left ear. It's tinnitus or tinnitus. But anyway, I was very, very depressed. I didn't leave my bedroom for months unless I had to, like to cook my daughter dinner. Thank God at the time I had a neighbor that really stepped up and took care of my daughter, like making sure she got on the school bus, because her father was there, but you know, he left early for work. And I'll explain how that also ruined our relationship. But anyway, so I was very depressed. I was very suicidal. I didn't attempt it, but I thought of it a lot. I really wanted to, my kids saved me, because if it wasn't for my 2 children and my granddaughter, I would have offed myself back in 2009, 2010. This happened July 2009. So workers' comp started making me see a psychiatrist. Best thing that ever happened to me. I'll get to that as well. But, and they kept sending me to doctors, neurologists, ENTs, and everybody was saying there's definitely an injury. So they finally sent me for an MRI, and it was with contrast, and they could literally see exactly what part of my brain was affected. And the way it has been explained to me is that, and this is like microseconds, when this happened, my brain literally sent out, I say literally a lot, I'm sorry, sent out a signal as a warning that something was happening. And because your brain is electrical, and it was an electrical injury that happened, it froze my brain in this warning signal. Whatever happened, the electrical currents meant whatever. But and to this day, I have not, since 2009, I have not had 1 second of silence. It's 24/7, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. So there were days that I was awake, couldn't sleep for 3 and 4 days at a time, which really amplified my depression. Besides the fact that I was exhausted. And so workers' comp finally said, look, we know you can't come back to work, because it also affected my short-term memory. I can't, it's really, really, I don't want to say I can't, but it's really, really, really hard for me to learn something new. And if you know anything about medical coding, there's new stuff all the time, and billing. So they're like, look, you're going to have to apply for Social Security disability, which I did. And I have to say, my job was extremely, extremely kind to me, because number one, they knew that this happened. I mean, not only did I have my worker there to confirm it, there were also cameras in the office that confirmed it. So I was on workers' comp for 2 years before they finally said, you know, you need to file for Social Security disability, because we don't think this is going to be anything that's going to be short term. So I did apply for that, and Social Security disability started sending me to their doctors, hoping to hear a doctor say, no, it's not really happening, yada yada. But every doctor said this really happened. This is definitely an injury. It's definitely also a brain injury. It's not an ear injury. Like, it's not my ear that's causing the tinnitus. It's my brain. So it's not technically tinnitus, but it is. So anyway, so during the 2 years of my really severe depression, my daughter's father, who is an angel, like, he really is, he's still such a good friend of mine, and luckily his wife and Scott both are not jealous of our relationship, because we still say we love you when we get off the phone. We still give each other a hug. Like, we're best friends. Not best friends, but you know what I mean. We're really good friends. And to this day, we still are. And he's always been a really good dad. So, he finally went online to find out if there was anybody else that suffered from this. And lo and behold, he found a support group for people like me who had electrical injuries to their ear/brain and are suffering with the constant tinnitus. And so I joined the support group. It was online. And I stayed there probably for about 6 months. But if I'm being honest with you, I had to stop because it was making my depression even worse. Because a lot of these people were telling me, like, after 2 years, I should be able to assimilate to it, and I should be able to learn how to drown out my tinnitus. And in the meantime, I've tried, like, hearing aids, a hearing aid, because it's only one ear. Hearing aid, I've tried maskers, I've tried all kinds of medical interventions with the ENT doctors, with neurologists. So the only hopeful thing that's down the road at some point, and I told them that I would be a guinea pig, it's happening in, I believe, Italy and Germany, is where they go into your brain like Parkinson's and put an electrode on your brain to kind of mess up the signal that your brain is stuck in. But that hasn't come to fruition yet. It's still something that's been being tested for quite a few years now. And you'll also notice that I lose track of what I'm talking about. So I apologize ahead of time. You'll notice that in some of my other videos. So anyway, Social Security was sending me around to doctors again. And finally, the first time I was denied, the second time my attorney, I had a Social Security attorney, asked for it to be in front of a judge, and the judge looked over my medical records, including my MRI, which you could see the damage. And it was funny because Social Security is telling them, now at this time too, I didn't know when I was going to sleep. I could be up for 3 days and crash in the middle of doing laundry. Like, that was my life. So the Social Security lawyer was like, well, she can get an office job just stuffing envelopes. And the judge looked at the attorney and said, so you want this person who was a medical biller and a medical coder to just sit in an office and stuff envelopes? And when she's able to go to work, because we don't know when she's going to be sleeping or if she's going to be awake, is there going to be an employer that accepts that? Anyway, I was granted permanent Social Security disability, and which, if anybody knows anything about Social Security disability, it's pennies to what I was making. So now I had to readjust my life. And at this time, so the accident also caused me, before the accident happened, I used to be able to compartmentalize things. And traumas in my life, I was able to put them in somewhere in my brain where I didn't think about them. And to me, they never happened. I don't know if people can understand that, but a lot of people do it with traumas. So I was able to do that, and once this happened, I was no longer able to do that, and a lot of my traumas came to surface, which was another thing on top of everything that I had to deal with. And Josie's father did absolutely nothing wrong, but I don't want to get into his story, but I just, at that point, by the second year, I just said to him, look, I can't live like this anymore. One of us has to move out. And it was very sad. We cried, hugged, and it took him a minute to understand where I was coming from. But like I said, we remained friends. He moved out, and now I'm surviving on making good money to, at the time, in the very beginning, when it first happened and I started collecting this. Oh wait, I have to back up a second. So I had an attorney at this time as well, and the attorney wanted to sue the building owners, but you couldn't because they were grandfathered in, because the building did not have to be grounded. And then the attorney wanted to sue my employer and the phone cord people and a whole bunch of other people, whatever. But anyway, because it was an act of nature, it wasn't really anything that could be sued. It just wasn't. So workers' comp gave me a very small payout of, I think at the time it was $51,000. So with that $51,000, now Fran had already left. That's my daughter's father. He had already left. So with that money, I paid some back bills because I was behind in bills, because I was making a lot less money. And at that time, by this time, my daughter's 5. Yeah. 6. So I use that money, I pay off bills, I buy myself a reliable car, a used car, but a new used car. It only had like 19,000 miles on it, whatever. So I used that money, and I gave my daughter a very special Christmas because her life was also affected, and I will get into that at some point. So anyway, I start collecting Social Security disability. Now, at that time, my Social Security disability check was $965, and my daughter, because she was so young, was also able to, there was a check that was sent for her that was $500 and some dollars. So you figure $1,500 a month is what I was expected to live on, to feed my child, to pay my mortgage, to pay my property taxes, my car insurance, and all that. And thank God Fran helped a great deal. And so that went on, and about 2 years into collecting Social Security disability, Social Security calls me. Now, mind you, when workers' comp had said to me, we're going to give you a payout of the $50,000 it was, I called my attorney and I said, is this legal? Like, am I allowed to take a payout? Is it going to affect my Social Security disability? He said, no, you can take it because this isn't work, like it's not a work thing. This is an injury, a personal injury thing, so you can take the money. So I did. 2 years later, after being on Social Security disability, they call me and they say, nope, you owe us that money. So to this day, every month, they take $100 out of my Social Security disability. I've been paying them back every month the overpayment of the $50-some thousand that they claim they're owed. And, I'm not going to fight it because it's just, everything is so much of a hassle when it comes to the government. So, anyway, I told you they sent me to a psychiatrist, and the first psychiatrist that I went to, very nice man. I was probably seeing him for about 3 months, and we started having a rapport. And as soon as I started getting into being comfortable with him, Social Security Disability says, yeah, no, we're going to send you to a different one. Or maybe that was during workers' comp, I'm sorry. Workers' comp says, no, we're going to send you to a different one. Again, looking for somebody that was going to side with them. They sent me to another one, same thing happened. And they sent me to a third one, and to this day, I'm still with the third one, and I can't tell you how many times he has saved my life. It mentally, because I've done some things, you know how I said, my kids are the ones, and my granddaughter have kept me alive. I would never put them through a suicide. But my mind would think of scenarios of if I crashed my car and died, if I ran into a tree. So, and I would talk about that with my psychiatrist, and he would bring me in reality and say, okay, so if you do that and you survive, now you have more injuries. You could be paralyzed. You could be, have some more brain issues. And so it was, he always talked me off the edge. So that's my story, basically. I'm on permanent Social Security disability. And I can tell you, please don't tell people that are on disability that they're faking it or whatever, or because they look fine, they shouldn't be on it, because you don't know what people are going through. And people think that, oh, you're making so much money off of Social Security disability. I now, in 2025, after they take out the $100 that they say that I owe, and after my medical insurance, because I am on Medicare through Social Security Disability, they take out $185. So by the time my check is deposited, I make a whopping $1,085. That's what I collect on Social Security Disability. So I'm not making buck. I'm not making bank here. And it was a struggle because, even in the beginning when I was dating Scott, and I'm also the type, I will not ask for help. I will not put my arm up and say I'm drowning if I'm drowning. I won't do it. I will find a way to make things happen. I don't know how I've done it. My girlfriend always says, because I'm always giving to people. I'm always, we had for 10 years, my friends and I, and they still do it. I can't because I'm in Arkansas, but every month, once a month, we cooked big meals and we hosted it at the Veterans Homeless Shelter. And every Christmas, we adopted families from a women's shelter and families around our area that were having trouble. And I'm very happy to say that although I may not have a lot, I did finally, because I was really missing doing that. I did adopt a family in Arkansas with 3 kids that I'm going to help, and I put I put the word out for my friends for help as well, to buy presents for her 3 children who did not have a Christmas last year. So I am getting that together, and that's just something that I like to do. I'm a giver. I like to give. So, I don't know if I was supposed to tell you anything else. Oh, my daughter's story. So my daughter, after this happened, and I went into my depression for 2 years. And I was a mom that did everything with my daughter. I went everywhere with her. We did everything together. And it was just something, we enjoyed doing. And for those 2 years, like I said, I didn't leave my house unless I absolutely had to for a doctor's appointment. Unfortunately, this affected my daughter when she was younger. She had severe separation anxiety. So for her to go to school, she would have a panic attack because she felt like if she wasn't with me, I was going to get hurt again. And that caused, a lot of issues. But luckily, my daughter is a junior in college and doing fantastic. Someone I'm very proud of. And I'm going to park here for a minute before I go shopping. So she's doing really well now, and my son and my granddaughter live in California and have lived in California since he's been 18. He's going to be 37. So that's really my story with that. I don't know that if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Oh, I will tell you also in New Jersey, I told you the amount that I was making. In New Jersey, that was too much for me to qualify for SNAP. I'm sorry. In the very beginning, they sent me $13 a month for SNAP to feed my child. So, not only was I trying to pay rent, car insurance, I was also buying groceries. And then when, how they do a cost of living increase, well, Social Security did a cost of living increase, and then I made too much money, so they stopped SNAP. So yeah, it's been a process. It's been, thankfully, Scott is an angel because he adjusted to me not sleeping, having my days, my good days and my bad days. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. And I hope I didn't just turn this video upside down, but if I did, I apologize. And that's where we're at. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I need to stop here for Scott, and then I need to go grocery shopping. So I hope you enjoyed the scenic route and my story, and I'm an open book, so feel free to ask whatever questions you have.